what makes a deal go bad?
Well, it comes to mind. We joke the three D's: death, divorce, drugs can
Yeah,
kill people.
can kill a deal. Sure.
Uh-huh. Yeah. But I would say expectations not being met, but we do a really good job of explaining expectations.
So you've seen and deal with a lot of various types of DSOs, OSOs, and all that fun stuff. What's the most unique? Because I think one of the challenges is is that fear, of course, of hey, if I partner now, I don't have a say in my own business, and I'm an employee, and all that other stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and so you've seen the spectrum, right? You've seen the spectrum of the companies that, yep, they come in, they rebrand, they do their whole thing, and great. And then they have the ones that are like pull back. What are some of the most unique models that you've seen out there that you I don't know if you to say ask if you like, but just that you've
Mhm.
seen that you're like, oh, that's pretty unique way of doing it. And what's the most unique ones you've seen?
Yeah, yeah. So, well, first thing I would say is to any doctor, if you do decide to go down this path, whether you use me, my company, or just look into it, don't go it alone.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've learned this. I think it's a really smart advice. Keep going. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but yeah, I think it's great.
yeah, yeah. It's equivalent to for being falsely accused of some heinous crime and going to try to defend
Defend
yourself.
yourself.
Or it'd be like me trying to watch a YouTube video and treat a class two div two
Yeah,
myself.
yeah, yeah.
It's what we do. I would highly advise representation for any doctor. That being said, that's part of our job. What I do, we analyze all the various structures, and we do what's called a scorecard. If we went all the way down the path of the doctor, we normally return 4 or 5 or more offers from individual groups for a doctor to choose from.
Hmm.
Uh,
Wow.
the if a doctor works directly with one DSO and then gets an offer, we call that an unsolicited offer. Um, for and you know, a great DSO, any of them would love to talk to a doctor without representation.
Sure.
But
Right.
as a steward of their capital, it's their job to give that doctor a deal that he's ecstatic with and that they're ecstatic with. It's my job to get the doctor a deal that he's ecstatic with and get them to really really lever up through a competitive environment. That being said, there are multiple structures out there. There's a the ones that we work, well, there's 100% buyout. Normally that's like a doctor to doctor sale. But many orthodontists have grown their practice to a level that an individual can't afford it. So they have to do what's called a Mercer acquisition, which can get messy, in which, for instance, they might sell off a quarter of their practice now, then a quarter of
Mm.
their practice
Oh,
in
interesting.
and then a court, and they can approach getting close to 100% of annual collections like that. But if they have 5 or more years left, we can partner them with a DSO. Various structures. One is called it's 100% buyout, but they get equity in the holdings company. That so imagine the way I said, as an orthodontist, I say, okay, now you own 100% of your one practice. Well, what if you could that's your biggest asset and you don't have it diversified? God forbid something happens, you can't practice tomorrow. The effective value of your practice goes here. Let's
Sure.
diversify that. So let's do that. Let's leverage your practice as an investment vehicle. So imagine instead of owning 100% of your one practice, that you owned 100% or 1% of 100 practices. So those 100 practice, 1 + 1 = 3. Those 100 practices with scaled back office are worth exponentially more than 100 individual practices.
Hmm.
So that's one avenue, 100% buyout, but they might get 20, 30, 40% equity in that group as a whole.
Mm.
That group, private equity group might also have other investments like car washes, or we work with one private equity group that owns a huge chain of sandwich shops across the nation that you see advertised
And
all
so
the
the
time.
doctor will get equity in those too?
Exactly.
Wow,
He gets
interesting.
equity in that. So it's a really unique investment vehicle. It gives them, they could put hundreds of thousands, sometimes seven figures equity in that group.
Yeah.
And from our comps of doing, over 600 transitions, over 1,000 individual offices and multiple platforms, private equity, holding company equity is on average going to grow about 3x every 3 years or 5x every 5 years. So
Wow.
it greatly outpaces the stock market. The other structure is called a joint venture structure, in which the doctor retains a minority ownership of his practice. So let's say it's a 60-40, and I'm using very low numbers here, but just say it's $1 million practice. They might pay, that you're talking about paying well in excess of collections when you partner with a DSO. So they might pay, let's say, $1 million practice, they might pay 1.5 million. So 60 times 1.5 is what, 900,000. So they pay 900,000 for that. The doctor owns the rest of his practice, so he's still getting 40% of the profits distributed to him.
Wow.
He's getting his fair doctor wage as well.
Right.
And then when that goes to a recapitalization event, that's when the doctor has a chance to convert a lot of that to holding company equity and take some cash off the table. It's two different kinds of structures. It's practice level equity versus a parent company equity. And you asked me my favorite structure. There are some groups out there now combining the two. So
Oh,
they might buy 60% of your practice with 20% holding company equity and 20% joint venture equity or practice level equity. And I can't say I have a favorite one.
okay.
My favorite one, I guess, on each individual client is the one that gets them, the overall best
Makes them the
outcome.
most happy. Yeah,
If it's a great structure but a poor offer, then the
sure.
structure doesn't matter.
Well, you were mentioning the idea of, work with someone because I mean, I've seen it myself where there's just been so much money left on the table because, of course, everybody's out for their own interest. Having a third party matchmaker, if you will, to be like, hey, I don't think you're seeing this the way that you should be seeing this, and looking at the structure the way that you are. What makes a deal go bad?
Well, it comes to mind. We joke, the 3 Ds: death, divorce, drugs, can
Yeah,
kill people.
can kill a deal. Sure.
Yeah. But I would say expectations not being met, but we do a really good job of explaining expectations, and we have vetted a lot of the groups that we work with. So that's another thing. You don't want to work with, well, you might end up being a great group, but
So
we've
a big
vetted,
risk.
yeah, we've vetted all the groups. So the groups that we're bringing to these doctors, we can assign a risk level and go, well, this group is well established, but there's a lower upside. This group is still growing. We believe they're a good group, could be a higher upside. You could get the instance of a pretty big group also with a high upside.
Mm,
And we do a matrix and make comparisons of all that versus if they do nothing and just keep doing what they're doing.
got it. Wow. What do you find is the biggest mistake that people are making when it comes to approaching a DSO? Is it going at it alone? Is it having too high expectations? Is it not being ready? Like what are some things that you see that are some big
I
mistakes?
would say it's definitely going at it alone.
Hey, there's no reason to learn how to own your role on your own. If you like that clip, go ahead and click right here for another one. Or if you want to watch the entire podcast, go ahead and click right here. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.